What if, like, everything we thought we knew about God, about the universe, even reality itself, was just a little bit, like, off, you know? That's the question we're kind of diving into today. With this, forward to the Urantia book. And you've brought this fascinating, and let's be honest, pretty dense document to our attention. And clear right off the bat, we're not dealing with your average spiritual text here. This is some next-level stuff. We're talking about multiple levels of reality, different types of infinity, even a sevenfold approach to deity.
Yes.
Yeah, buckle up, because we're about to unpack some seriously big ideas.
Yeah, the Urantia book, it really kind of jumps right in. It claims to be a direct revelation from celestial beings, and it really aims to clarify what it sees as humanity's misconceptions about God, about divinity, and about our place in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, it's like humanity got handed this cosmic correction note, and the foreword to this book is like our guide to try and decipher the message.
And it's interesting, because this book itself, it's generated its fair share of controversy over the years, with reactions ranging from, complete skepticism to, like, devoted followership. And I think that's something important to keep in mind as we go through this deep dive and we explore some of its core concepts.
Absolutely. And, we're not here to tell you what to believe. We're just here to break down the ideas as we find them.
Yeah.
But I think one of the first things that jumps out when you start reading the Urantia book is this vocabulary. I mean, they use words like deity and divinity, which it turns out don't mean quite what you might think. So can you walk us through that a little bit? What's the difference between deity and divinity according to this book?
Well, think of it this way. Deity is the source. It's the ultimate ground of all existence, the boundless energy, the uncaused cause, like the ultimate reality. Divinity, on the other hand, that's the quality, the essence that kind of flows from deity. So if deity is like the ocean, then divinity is the water itself.
Okay, so deity is like the what, and divinity is like the how.
Exactly. And here's where it gets even more interesting. The Urantia book claims that deity functions on 7 levels, from static to ultimate, each representing a different aspect of its expression.
7 levels. Whoa. That's a whole lot of deity to wrap our heads around. What does that even mean in a practical sense?
Well, it suggests that our human understanding of the divine, it's inherently limited, imagine if you will, trying to describe a vast, multi-dimensional landscape. Using only 2-dimensional drawings, you'd need multiple perspectives, different angles. To even begin to grasp its complexity, these 7 levels are kind of like that, different facets of a reality too vast for us to fully comprehend.
So it's not that deity is changing, it's that our capacity to understand it is expanding.
Precisely. And this actually ties into another really key concept in the Urantia book, and that is the concept of God. Now, in the Urantia book, God isn't like a singular entity, but rather a title used for personalizations of deity.
Okay, hold on. Personalization. So it's like deity is trying on different hats for different occasions.
Not quite hats, but think of it more as like different expressions or manifestations of that one underlying source. The Urantia book really emphasizes that because we as humans have finite minds. We need different ways to relate to the infinite.
So these different gods are like points of access to help us connect with something far greater than ourselves.
Exactly. Each one representing a particular aspect or function of deity, making the infinite a little more approachable, a little more relatable to our limited human understanding.
It's kind of like that idea that you can't fully understand the ocean by just standing on the shore. You need to swim in it, feel its currents, explore its depths. These different expressions of God are like different ways to kind of dive into that vastness.
That's a great analogy. And speaking of diving into vastness, the Urantia book's concept of universe reality is where things get really wild.
Yeah, and from what I've gathered, it's not just about planets and stars. We're talking about different levels or types of existence altogether. Like there's stuff out there that's not quite God, not God. What is that all about?
So the Urantia book actually describes 3 primal phases of reality: undeified, deified, and interassociated.
Okay. Break that down for me. What do those terms even mean?
All right, so imagine, if you were, a potter working with clay, okay? The undeified is like the raw material, the pure potential that exists before the potter shapes it. It's not inherently good or bad,
So it's not anti-God, it's pre-God.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Then you have the deified, which is the realm of God, the realm where that raw potential has been shaped and molded according to divine will and purpose. But here's where it gets really interesting.
Interassociated.
Interassociate. Now, that sounds complicated. It is. And to be honest, the foreword only gives us like a small glimpse. But imagine spaces where the deified and the undeified overlap, where there's this like dynamic interplay between pure potential and divine purpose.
So there are realms out there that are still being formed, where the creative process is ongoing, even for God.
That's one way to interpret it. And this notion of a dynamic and evolving reality extends even to the most fundamental aspects of existence, including the very concept of paradise.
Okay, now when I hear paradise, I usually think like pearly gates and fluffy clouds, but the Urantia book has something very different in mind, right?
Absolutely. This isn't about a place you go to after you die. This is about the absolute center of reality, the anchor point from which everything else flows.
Yeah.
The Urantia book describes paradise as the source of all energy and gravity, the literal and metaphorical grounding point for all that is.
So instead of harps and halos, we're talking about a more fundamental kind of paradise, the very foundation of existence itself.
Exactly. And this idea of a foundational source, a cosmic center, connects to another fascinating trio of concepts: personality, energy, and pattern.
Okay, let's unpack those. What do those terms signify in the Urantia book?
So personality refers to the individualization of spirit, that unique spark of consciousness that makes you, you. Energy encompasses all forms of power and activity, from the smallest atom to the largest galaxy. But it's the concept of pattern that really caught my eye.
And I think it's so interesting because it's not just about physical patterns, right? The Urantia book talks about mental patterns too. It's like our thoughts, our ideas, they have a kind of structure, like a blueprint. That exists on a different level of reality.
And here's where it gets really mind-bending. The foreword suggests that these mental patterns, these blueprints of thought, might actually influence the universe around us.
So our very thoughts could be shaping reality. That's a pretty powerful idea.
It is, and it opens up a whole new way of thinking about our role in the universe and the potential impact of our consciousness. But to really understand that impact, I think, we need to explore another level of this cosmic hierarchy, those beings that the Urantia book refers to as the supreme being and beyond.
Okay, so we're back. And if your brain isn't already doing like backflips from our last segment, get ready. Because we're about to dive even deeper into this Urantia book cosmic ocean. Last time we kind of left off with this idea of like mental patterns, those blueprints of thought, potentially like influencing the universe. But the foreword doesn't stop there. It introduces us to like these beings of unimaginable power and scope.
Yeah.
Entities that it calls experiential deities.
Yeah, and this is one of the places where the Urantia book, it really sets itself apart from like traditional religious texts, because it presents this view of divinity as not static or fixed, but as like evolving. These experiential deities, they're not finished products. They're on a journey of growth and self-discovery, just like us.
Yeah, it's a pretty radical concept, right? I mean, to think that even God, in the Urantia book's view at least, is not done evolving. But where does this supreme being that we keep hearing about fit into all of this?
So the supreme being is described as like the culmination of all the experiences and achievements of every creature in the grand universe. So imagine like every act of creativity, every moment of love, every struggle, every triumph, all kind of woven together into this single, incredibly complex and powerful being.
So not some like distant, aloof deity, but a being that's actually like intimately connected to the evolution of everything in the universe.
Exactly. And what's even more kind of mind-blowing is that the Urantia book suggests that the supreme being isn't even the end of the line. There are even more ultimate beings beyond it. God the ultimate, and even God the absolute.
Okay, so now we're talking like cosmic heavyweights here. What are we to make of these beings? With such a absolute names.
Well, think of it this way. Remember how we were talking about deity functioning on 7 levels? It's like those levels continue to expand outward, encompassing greater and greater realities. So God the ultimate represents the unification of everything in the grand universe, all the galaxies, all the beings, all of their experiences, like synthesized into a single all-encompassing entity.
And God the absolute. I mean, that sounds about as big as it gets.
Yeah, even the foreword is hesitant to put any kind of limitations on what God the absolute might represent. It suggests realms of existence that are so vast and so complex that they're really beyond our comprehension. Even for the beings who inhabit those realms, it's really pushing the boundaries of what we can even imagine.
Yeah, it's definitely a lot to wrap your head around, but if I'm understanding this correctly, the Urantia book is basically suggesting that reality itself is constantly evolving, and that even like the most fundamental aspects of existence, like God, are on this journey of growth and self-discovery.
That's a key takeaway. And it's not just like a passive evolution either. The Urantia book suggests that we as individuals and as a collective have a role to play in this grand cosmic drama.
Which brings us to, I think, another really intriguing concept from this foreword, this idea of a sevenfold path to deity, again with the sevens. Is this like some kind of cosmic staircase
Yeah.
that we're all climbing?
You could see it that way, but it's not so much a straight line. It's more like a spiral, with each loop bringing us closer to a deeper understanding of the divine.
So who are we encountering on this sevenfold path? Like, what kind of cosmic guides are there to help us navigate this incredible journey?
Well, according to the Urantia book, it's not just one cosmic guide, but like a whole hierarchy of beings who are invested in our spiritual development. So think of it like almost like a support system for the soul. That extends from like our local corner of the universe all the way to those ultimate levels of reality that we were just talking about.
Okay, so that's actually kind of a comforting thought. So who are these like cosmic mentors?
Yeah.
And what kind of support are we talking about here?
The Foreword introduces us to this pretty fascinating cast of characters. It starts with the Paradise Creator Sons.
Huh.
And each local universe, like our own Milky Way galaxy, has a creator sun at its helm, a being of like immense love and wisdom who oversees its evolution.
So kind of like a cosmic architect, designing the grand plan for our little corner of existence.
More like a cosmic gardener, nurturing the growth and development of everything within their care.
I like that analogy a lot better. So who else is on this sevenfold path? Who do we meet as we keep climbing that cosmic spiral?
So as we ascend, we encounter the Ancients of Days, who oversee the super universes.
So even bigger picture thinkers then, right? Making sure that the cosmic machinery, it was running smoothly on a much grander scale.
Exactly. And then there are the 7 master spirits who are even more masterful, I guess you could say. They're described as representing these distinct aspects of the infinite spirit's mind and influence. And they're like shaping the very fabric of reality.
Whoa, it's like we're glimpsing behind the curtain of creation itself, seeing the gears turning, the energy flowing, this intelligence at work. But I have to say, this is a lot to take in. Is there a way to make sense of all of these different beings, these cosmic guides, in a way that, like, doesn't make my head spin?
Sure so. Think about it this way. Imagine that you are learning a new skill. Like, let's say, playing a musical instrument. Okay. At first, you might have like a local teacher who guides your early steps. But then as you progress, you might seek out like mentors with greater expertise, maybe even attending like a prestigious music academy. The Urantia book's sevenfold path is kind of similar. It's not about a rigid hierarchy, but about recognizing that there are all these different levels of support and guidance available to us as we kind of grow and evolve spiritually.
So the further we journey inward, the more we open ourselves up to these higher levels of connection and understanding.
Precisely. And you know, the other important thing to remember is that this journey, it isn't a solitary one. We have these incredible beings, these cosmic mentors, who are actively invested in our growth and evolution. They're not just watching from a distance. They're actively participating in the symphony of existence.
And we,
in our own unique ways, are also a part of that grand orchestra.
It's definitely humbling and inspiring all at the same time. This idea that we're not just like these insignificant specks in this vast and indifferent universe, but we're actually like active participants in this cosmic drama with beings of unimaginable power and compassion who are actually like rooting for our success.
And that's the really beautiful thing about the Urantia book's message. It's not that it offers like easy answers or simple dogma, but it presents this vision of reality that's just like brimming with possibility. A universe where growth and evolution, they're not just possible, but they're actually woven into the fabric of existence itself.
So I guess as we kind of start to wrap up our deep dive here into this truly mind-bending foreword, what would you say is like the most important takeaway for our listeners? What's the one thing that you really hope they hold on to as they continue their own explorations?
You know, if I had to pick just one thing, I think it would be this. Be open to new possibilities. The Urantia book offers this really unique and complex cosmology. And while it might not resonate with everyone, it challenges us to expand our thinking, to question our assumptions, and to approach like the mysteries of existence with a sense of wonder and curiosity.
And isn't that what it's all about, really? This like insatiable human desire to understand our place in the grand scheme of things, to connect with something larger than ourselves, and to try to find meaning and purpose in a universe that can often seem so chaotic and indifferent.
Absolutely. And, you know, whether you find yourself like aligning with the Urantia book's specific teachings or not, this emphasis on personal spiritual growth, on the interconnectedness of all things, and on like the ever-evolving nature of reality, I think those are ideas worth wrestling with. Ideas that have the power to transform the way we see ourselves
Yeah.
and the world around us.
Well said. We've definitely covered a lot of ground today in our deep dive, from the nature of deity to the concept of paradise, from the power of our own thoughts to these cosmic beings who share this incredible journey with us. It's a lot to process, and I have a feeling we've only just scratched the surface. If you're anything like me, your mind is probably buzzing right now with all these new ideas and questions, and that, I think, is the true gift of the Urantia Book's Foreword. It invites us to keep exploring, to keep questioning, and to keep expanding our understanding of what's possible. So until next time, keep those minds open and those imaginations ignited.